Well, hi everybody. I just wanted to do a little comparison today between the Kenworth T680 and the Freightliner Cascadia, because some people have been asking about it. Hit that subscribe button, and let me tell you about this truck I'm driving here. Welcome back to the Joy of Trucking. My name's Kevin. I'm a solo OTR driver for CRETE. Last year I drove for Werner, and I had a Kenworth T680, a real nice blue truck, and I was very adamant when I was starting out with Werner that I really wanted a Kenworth. And when I joined CRETE here, I didn't really have much of an option. I think only about 10% of their fleet is Kenworths, and so I'm in a Freightliner now. Interestingly, both these trucks are 2019s, so I can make a pretty fair comparison based on mileage and year and so on. I got this truck right about the same point in mileage as when I left off with the Kenworth. So let's get into it. One important fact you can note is the Freightliner Cascadia has a shorter wheelbase than the Kenworth T680, which means you have a little less weight and you have a shorter turning radius as a result. You also get better fuel mileage, I think, because of less weight, but also it has to do with other factors like the size of the engine and the way that it's set up. But interestingly about that shorter turning radius, I've done U-turns with this truck, pulling a trailer, but in yards where I've had to turn around and go the other way, and I know it would have been harder in the T680 just based on driving it for a year, and I can judge a little bit how much room I need to make a U-turn, and I know it would have been more difficult with the Kenworth. Also, backing maneuvers are a little bit easier with the Freightliner because of that shorter wheelbase. It's a little more responsive when you're backing up. Another thing is, because it's shorter, you'll notice that the fender mirrors are a little bit closer. Now, that's not a disadvantage. You're still able to see if there's a vehicle beside you. You can see the lane next to you clearly and everything. It's just that having them closer just feels a little bit different. In the Kenworth, they're about a foot farther out in front of you. And also, speaking of mirrors, I don't like these door mirrors on the Freightliner because they're taller. On the Kenworth, they're a little shorter and you can see over them. So these mirrors on the Freightliner actually create a blind spot, especially on the passenger side, because it's taller, and the way it's situated, you have the pillar at the end of the windshield and then that side mirror, and because of that you have a pretty big blind spot. Sometimes when you're coming to an intersection and you want to make a left turn, you're looking for traffic coming from that right hand side, and sometimes there's a car hidden behind there. You got to like stretch really high, or move your head back and forth, jump around in your seat. I got surprised one time. I was about to pull out into a street, and suddenly there's a car like right in front of me that appeared from that side, and I didn't see it because of that blind spot. I really noticed that. With the Kenworth, you see over them and you're not surprised as much. Let's talk about the actual ride and handling of this truck too. Like I said, you can make sharper turns. Your backing is a little more responsive. We found, and Tanya even commented as soon as she got in the truck and we started out on the road, she found the ride was fairly smooth as long as the pavement was good, and the interior noise was a little bit less. You didn't get that highway roar as much as you do with the Kenworth. It may be that they have more noise dampening in the Freightliners. It may also be because we had a window back there at the end of the bunk, and maybe that let more road noise in. I'm not sure. I do miss that window though. I liked having the ability to open that window and get more airflow through here. Also, when you're doing a blindside backing maneuver, you can actually see the end of the trailer at a certain point out that window. So when it disappears from the mirror and you've cranked the mirror as far as you can, and you're looking for the end of the trailer, and you look out that window, you can actually see the trailer at one point. So it does help you on those maneuvers. Without that window there, you don't get as much airflow, but that's also an escape hatch, because that whole panel, that window, will knock out. So if you're in a situation where you can't get out the doors of the truck, you can pop that out and escape there. I think they're available on Freightliners, but I think CRETE doesn't have as many extra options or features. So you got those little tiny pop vents there that hardly let any air in, one on each end of the bunk. I drove a Peterbilt for a week. I had a huge door on the driver's side with a window, so you had lots of airflow there, but you could also open that door right up and let all kinds of air in, and it was really handy for loading. This truck, not so much. The other thing, because the Freightliner is lighter and it has a shorter wheelbase, when the road is rough, you do feel it more. I guess there's not a lot that you can do about that unless maybe put in a better quality seat. The air ride seat, you know, if it had a little more cushion or shock absorbing ability, it wouldn't feel so bad. While the rest of the truck is shaking, at least you're floating smoothly over the bumps. Tanya actually felt some spinal compression on a couple of roads, like that I-80 up around Chicago there. It gets really rough in a few places. So she wasn't too happy with that. The Kenworth was a little nicer on rough roads. But another really big point about this truck is it gets much better gas mileage, or fuel economy, I guess you'd say, not gas mileage because it's using diesel. You've got the display there showing you what your fuel economy is. And we had that on the Kenworth, but I also was doing the math myself just to double check against the gauge. It was fairly accurate. But in most cases with the Kenworth, you're getting 7 to 8 miles per gallon. Sometimes you'd get up around 8.5 or a little more if you had a really light load and you weren't dealing with mountains. This truck, I've gotten it as high as 10 miles per gallon, 10.1 actually. So it's more economical. And it may be that, you know, because the engine, because I've also found that this truck doesn't climb hills as well as the Kenworth. So it might have a little less power. But because of that, you've got the better fuel economy. Because the truck itself is lighter, you're getting better fuel economy. So that's a pretty important factor these days. One other thing about the handling I've noticed with the Kenworth, I was very secure with the handling, and often I could just steer with one hand and have my other hand like resting close by, and, you know, pick up a drink or whatever. This truck, I don't know if you've noticed in the recent videos, but I am always two-handed on this steering wheel. And if I reach down to grab my drink or push a button on the, you know, on the navigation or something like that, or if I take my eyes off the road for 2 seconds, by the time I look back, I'm over, just about to cross over the line into another lane. That's how quickly it goes off course, because it seems to wander a lot more readily than the Kenworth did. It may be because there's more wear on the front end of this truck. It may be the shorter wheelbase, so it doesn't track as straight and true. If I'm on rough roads, I'm really nervous about the steering too. I'm really watching my lane position and everything, because the bumps seem to throw it off even more. I haven't noticed the wind throwing the truck off track as much. No more than the Kenworth, you know, but that handling aspect does bother me. It's a little bit more stress and maybe a little more fatiguing. You know, by the end of the day, you're getting tired of having to really stay on top of it so much. You know, that level of focus. I want to talk to you about the interior of the truck now, and not just comforts, but dimensions. You see how I've got the camera set up here. You can see the other seat pretty plainly. And you'll notice I can reach this armrest, all right? By comparison, in the Kenworth, when I would reach over, I would be reaching over to like this point in the seat. And when I had that Peterbilt, I could reach over and easily touch the center of this seat. And what that tells me is the seats here are farther apart by several inches compared to the Kenworth. You know, if I can get to here with my hand easily, that's a difference of like 4 or 5 inches. Which means these seats are farther apart in this truck, which just tells you that the passage between the seats is more open. But I think what you're sacrificing there, the narrower cab on the Kenworth and the Peterbilt, gives you a little distance between the upper and lower step. When you're getting in the truck, especially when you're getting out of the truck, the stairs on the Freightliner are a little more stacked one on top of the other. And on the Kenworth, they're a little bit more apart. So you've got to be a little more careful getting out of this truck and hang on to those handholds, because sometimes you'll miss that second step as you're going down. You don't want to fall on your butt or break your leg or something climbing out of the truck. So that's something to think about. But it's nice to have this extra room in here. Some of it is taken up by the dashboard here. The console, I think, does intrude a little more into this space. But it's not that bad. It's not that noticeable. And I guess it's because you've got a shorter wheelbase. The engine kind of comes into the cab a little more than the Kenworth. So this point in the center here kind of sticks into the cab a little more. It's just the proportions of it are different, you know. I do want to talk about a few other things regarding the interior. So what I want to do is show you with the camera. So hang on a sec. All right, I've got the interior lit up as much as I can handle here, and I hope the camera angle is not too tight for you, but you get an idea here of the interior looking into the sleeper. Something I really notice is that in the Freightliner, the top bunk is higher than in the Kenworth. So if I'm standing here, the bunk is about even with my eyes, and on the Kenworth it's a little lower. So as a result, they put in this ladder that flips down, so it's easier to climb up there. All right. But on the Kenworth, what you'd have is a step right here on the edge of the cabinet, and you just step up and then hop up onto the bunk. Because it's lower, it's easier to reach, and it's easier to climb up there. I'm not thrilled with this ladder. Often when I'm going to the lower bunk to, you know, like I'm making the bed in the morning, or I'm trying to reach something at the back there, I'll hit my head on that ladder. I've got a few dings on my skull now because of that ladder. It's a daily hazard for me. Not too happy with that. Also, you remember on the Kenworth, we had a huge table right here. It was a great workspace. We did our cooking there and so on. And there was a tabletop behind it, like the top of the shelf. So you had a little area to store or you know, workspace there that was right next to the big swing out table. What you've got in this truck, you do have an area at the top here where you can stash stuff. As you see, we've done that. And then your table is this little slide out appendage here. All right, with the ladder out of the way, you can see the table is fully extended. It's fairly long. But it's not as wide as that table in the Kenworth. And also, you notice how it's just about even with the top of the bunk. That means when you're sitting on the bunk and you're eating or you're trying to work on this table, it's too low. You gotta bend over or hunch over quite a bit. And if you're standing working at this table, again, it's too low. You gotta bend over all the time to work on it. So that's kind of awkward. Not exactly thrilled with that, but you can see we've got ample storage and covered space. These go right up, and then looking at the front here, above the windshield, you got this great big shelf that runs the whole width, and then a locker up here, and a locker here, and a locker here, and another one on this side. So lots of cabinet space. You can see I got the shelves here with the CB and some drinks up there. So more than enough storage space. And as you can see down below here, we've actually got a fridge installed in this truck. So that's a feature with CRETE. All their trucks have a refrigerator and an inverter. So in the Kenworth, we had an inverter but no fridge. So this area of the floor was occupied by a cooler all the time. That's kind of takes away from your space. So you can see I got a nice wide floor space down here. That's nice. But one thing in the Kenworth, you had a tray up here on the top of this locker and another one on this side. So the guy in the top bunk could throw a lot of stuff up there, store books and maps or bathroom stuff or whatever you're thinking. And the Freightliner is almost a flat surface. If I put anything up there, it's going to fall out once we start driving. So that's kind of a minus here. It's a minor thing, but if I'm living up there on that top bunk when Tanya's with me, I don't have all that space that I can use. Now you see you got the speakers up there in the back. All right. They're attached to the radio and they work. In the Kenworth, we had speakers down here as well. Also the bunk air conditioner, like the Kenworth, the controls are over here. That's fine. But you see the one vent up here and the one vent down there, that's all you get. So when that thing's blowing away, it's kind of whipping back here and doing its job. But in the Kenworth, we had vents in the corners of the lower and the upper bunk, up there and up there. So it kind of threw that cold air out a little bit more. So that's another thing. Also, you can see down here below this cabinet, that's where the air conditioning unit is. In the Kenworth, it's under the bunk, right? So what happens now, if you lift this up and look at the storage space, there's actually more storage here than in the Kenworth. Yeah, so the storage space underneath the bunk is a little roomier on the Freightliner because the air conditioning unit's not located under there. It's underneath this cabinet here. So a little more storage space. Something that's amiss here on this truck, the access doors to that lower bunk storage area from the outside of the sleeper. On the Kenworth, you had one on each end, which is great. You could access stuff from both sides. On this truck, there's only one on the driver's side. And that means if you have to go in there to get tools or your triangles or something like that, you're broke down on the side of the road, you're out there on the side where the traffic is. You can't open it from the safe side. Lost my damn book. There we go. All right. So we got all of that dealing with the interior. We're not unhappy with the interior. There's just different things. We got a fridge. We got more storage under the bunk. We're missing some little trays up top. We got lots of storage in this truck. It's just different. It's neither good nor bad. Just something you're going to get used to. Important things, like I said, are the handling and the comfort of the ride. Those really make a difference to us. And something that's even more important is the mechanical aspect. So let's talk about that now. I've been driving this truck for 2.5 months now. I haven't had to top up any of the fluids. So nothing's leaking, nothing's like burning off or going away or whatever. A little windshield washer fluid, of course, is going to be necessary from time to time, but it's not losing any coolant or oil or power steering fluid, which means the truck is built very well. It's not burning its oil off or whatever, and nothing's leaking. That's the other thing that's really important. Also, we've only had to take this truck into the shop once for a NOx sensor, and we were on our way again in 24 hours. And that's worth noting. We had the same problem with the Kenworth last year, and I spent 3 days at a dealership waiting for the part, and then they finally got it and put it in. So, same problem, only shut down for a day with this truck, 3 days with the Kenworth. Oh my goodness. If I owned this truck, I'd be losing money. As a company driver, I'm getting breakdown pay for that, which with Werner was $75. That really doesn't make up for the time you're losing driving. So that's something important to think about. In the 2.5 months I've been driving, that's been the only problem. With the Kenworth, I broke down multiple times. Also, when I would come back from my break, like from home time, and I'd leave the truck at the terminal and ask them to fix something, I came back once and they sent me back home. They were waiting for a part that didn't come in for a week. So based on that, I'd say this Freightliner is more reliable mechanically, and when something does go wrong, it's fixed faster. There's more parts available, which means they get the new part put in and you're on your way again quicker. That's worth noting. Another small thing is I haven't had a flat tire yet. Now, okay, when I was driving for Werner for a year, I had, I believe, 12 tires changed on the truck and trailers. Okay, but even on the truck there were 2 steers and 4 of the drive tires, I believe, had to be fixed. And I had a lot of flats on trailers. But so far, I haven't had a flat. Now, if I had 12 in a year, that's an average of 1 per month. And so far, like I said, 2.5 months with this truck, no flats. It could be the places I was going had more nails in the parking lot that got into the tires and so on. Like I did have tires that had screws and nails in them and stuff like that. But even so, I mean, even with the trailers, in the whole 2.5 months, I had one trailer with a slow leak. So is it that Werner's not using tires that are as good as CRETE's, or CRETE sends us to places where they clean up the parking lots better? Or is it something to do with the truck? I don't know. I'm just saying I'm not losing time with this truck getting tires fixed. And sometimes that was a major pain in the butt. At the end of a long day, you pull into a truck stop, and then you're up for another 3 hours waiting to get into the shop, and then they fix the tire finally. Also, mechanically speaking, the air conditioning on this truck works, and it works great, and we've had no problem with it. And with the Kenworth, it was intermittent. It would run for a few days, and then it would suddenly quit, and the next day it would start working again. We had that air conditioning work done 3 times in the Kenworth. And they would, at one point, they tore the entire dashboard apart and replaced the baffle motors and stuff like that. And we got back on the road, and 2 days later, it stopped working again. So we were very unhappy with that. And in the hot summer days, that was really a problem. You know, driving with the windows open because it's 100 degrees outside, and you're cooking in the truck. And if you get stuck in traffic, you're really suffering. That is an important issue as far as your comfort, but also shows you the difference in mechanical reliability. You got air conditioning on a vehicle, you expect it to work. And if there's something wrong and you get it fixed, then, you know, stuff happens. But to have it worked on 3 times and still not working, that's a major fault as far as I'm concerned. Also, the opti-idle on this Freightliner is very reliable. On the Kenworth, it didn't always work. And I talked to other Kenworth drivers, and there's tricks and things you got to fiddle around with, and how you set this and how you do that, and sometimes it works, and we had so much trouble with it, I gave up after a while, and we just didn't use it. So we would fool the truck into running all night, or we just didn't bother. And with Tanya's APAT machine, sometimes we'd get up in the morning and wonder if there's any juice left in the batteries too. So that's kind of dangerous. With this truck, the opti-idle works perfectly. You set it, and it will kick on and off all night long whenever it needs to. The temperature inside fluctuates. It will get warm, and then the truck kicks on, and the air conditioning comes on and blows like a crazy mother. And then you're cold, so then you pull the covers on, but it's not like you're suffering in heat all night, or it stays too cold and you know, freezes you all night. So far, it's done what it's supposed to do. So once again, mechanically, it's a plus for the Freightliner and a minus for the Kenworth. So just as a conclusion to the story, the mechanical things, the mechanical reliability. If I was buying a truck, if I wanted to, you know, become an owner-operator, I'd love a Kenworth. I'd really love a Peterbilt, and I would enjoy driving them. I would not enjoy losing money by being in the shop. Even if something breaks on either truck, it's repaired faster on the Freightliner, and you're in it to make money. The time you're sitting there waiting for parts and waiting for the truck to get repaired, the frequency of getting repaired means you wouldn't make as much money. Also, I understand the purchase price of this truck is less than the Kenworth and much less than the Peterbilt. So that's another factor. If I'm buying the truck, I want to buy it quicker. I don't want to be making payments longer and longer because it's a more expensive truck. And I want the ability to make money consistently, not have to worry about, you know, being in the shop often. So as far as that, the reliability, the purchase price, the availability of parts makes this truck a big plus in all those regards. So that's all I have to say about this truck for now. Maybe we'll experience other problems, or maybe we'll experience no problems in the coming months. But so far, I'd say it's a good truck. It's that there are pluses and minuses as far as the interior comfort or the ride comfort. It's just different, like I say. So we're getting used to it, and we're not totally unhappy. All right. Let me see the thumbs up if you like this video, and I'm sure you've got a lot of comments for me about this. So let's see those too. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and we'll see you down the road. Bye for now.